Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Thursday's huge explosive edition of the DC Universe Daily Live. So we now know that Henry Cavill is out as Superman, officially confirmed by James Gunn. TY, evening. Good evening to you. It's morning here from sunny Cyprus. So TY, a very good morning and evening. TY, I think this news confirms a full reboot. I don't necessarily think that, TY. I do want a full reboot, but I'm still not sure that's what we're getting. I believe they may leave the DCEU behind and say that's an active Earth and move on to a new one and take some of the actors with them. We'll have to wait and see. Short Circuit, I think it will be a hard reboot. Again, that's what I want. But James Gunn said last week in response to Boris Kitt's THR article, which was 100% true now, as we know, that he said he's keeping the things that work and fixing the things that don't. Clearly, Henry Cavill's Superman is something he felt that didn't work. But I want to read out what James had to say. I then want to read out what Henry had to say. We're also going to be getting into yesterday's Variety article by Adam B. Very claiming that Gunn and Safran were looking to find ways to implement Matt Reeves' The Batman universe into the new DC universe. James Gunn then saying that he needed better sources, but he loves him as a journalist. We'll be discussing it, but I think this was all staged to kind of get some blushes back from Gunn and Safran and Zaslav and DC Studios after Boris Kitt's article last week kneecapped them. Abraham Herrera, hey Mick, watched Avatar today, glorious movie making. I'm assuming it looks good at the very least. TY, I think Gunn keeping the things that work refers to talent, not necessarily continuity in castings. TY, I am humbled with what you've just said. TY, that's something I haven't really thought about. What I have when they were talking about the Lobo stuff. But yeah, TY, I'm not one of these assholes who's going to mouth off at you and say I'm right and say you're wrong. Because actually, you make a great point. It's all about the fans. I'm a fan. You're a fan. If we listen to what each other have to say, we will be good friends. Hunter Iggy, Movies TV Mad, what's up? And do you think we will the three new actors for Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman? Who do I think they will be? I have no idea. But Movies TV Mad is about clearing that mist and actually giving you the facts and the details and responding to those details. I've come on live today because this is a big news day. I will basically be talking like this on a pre-recorded video as well, because I have OCD and I prefer the pre-recorded videos because that gives me time to perfect what I'm saying. But I think I know it's really early or late in the evening or wherever you are, but I felt I at least had to do a live video on this. So this is what James Gunn had to say. Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go. Now, first of all, on this, he keeps on saying he's only been there for a few weeks when people ask him questions, but all of a sudden, he's got a slate. Clearly, David Zaslav is pressuring he and Peter to have content out there for DC Universe as soon as possible. Is this a good way to have quality? I'm not too sure. Which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. TY, I was blown away by how much news we got today. Yes, there was a lot going on with the Variety stuff, which I do think is a staged article, because Variety has been a propaganda machine for WB in the past. We'll get to that a little bit later on. James Gunn continues. Among those on the slate is Superman in the initial stages. Our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. Now, this could also mean that DC Universe is a continuation of the old DCEU, but could this be a Superman from an official separate Earth than the DC Extended Universe that could still be existing but left alone? We will have to wait and see. So where are we? Yeah. So he confirms that Henry Cavill won't be Superman. He carries on. We just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. Now, this is interesting because I'm going to read out very soon Henry Cavill's official statement for the press release. He doesn't mention having a nice chat. He doesn't mention whether he'll be involved. He just says he's done as Superman. And he doesn't sound very happy. And we'll get into that. A fan asks James, being part of the slate, I assume it's a movie. Yes, the Superman movie is a movie. James Gunn also confirms, I am writing and have been for a while. We don't know who is directing yet. So James Gunn confirms that he's writing the next Superman movie. Are you excited about that? Are you concerned about that? It's very interesting. Please tell me this isn't an origin movie. James Gunn responds and says, no way. The next Superman movie isn't an origin movie. Now, here's an interesting one. Away from Henry Cavill. Could Ben Affleck direct? Met with Ben yesterday precisely because he wants to direct, and we want him to direct. We just have to find the right project. Clearly, they don't want him to direct Superman. But it's interesting. So if you're a Batfleck fan, he may not be playing Batfleck again, maybe. But that hasn't been confirmed, by the way. This is actually interesting. He hasn't come out and said, we're working on a Batman movie. We're working on Batman, and it isn't Ben Affleck. He, in fact, confirms that they want to work with Ben Affleck as a director. Could it be, after all these years, that Ben Affleck could end up writing and directing and starring in his own Batman movie? For me, by James saying this, that door hasn't closed yet. It's unlikely, but there are possibilities here. So I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing else from James Gunn, but obviously there's a lot of people with something to say to James Gunn about that. So very shortly, I'm going to get into the Henry Cavill element of this and what he had to say. So where are we? Right, I've read all your comments. So we're now, because I've screenshot this, so we're going to come off of Twitter for now and go to my album. So if I can find it. Right. This is, obviously, I don't have on-screen stuff. You know that. So here we are. I have just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news. Everyone, I will, after all, not be returning as Superman after being told by the studio to announce my return back in October. Right, let's stop it there. Let's stop it there, because that's very, very, very interesting. He says at the beginning of this official press release that he's not back as Superman, and he was told by the studio back in October that he was back as Superman. So I'm not angry with James Gunn and Peter Safran for deciding to do something different and go down a different creative direction. I'm not frustrated about that. You know, the situation here is on David Zaslav and The Rock. They told him he was back as Superman. He told his fans he was back as Superman, and now he's not. And as soon as James and Peter came in, they said, oh, no, you don't. That's not what we want to do. And if he's Superman, obviously they may have said, we're out. We can't. You know, we want to do something different. You can't restrain us with the old thing that hasn't worked. So I understand James and Peter's kind of thought processes here. The problem isn't with them. The point is that David Zaslav and The Rock lied to Henry Cavill and told him he was back as Superman. He announced it, right? They literally told him anything to get him back in the costume to uplift Black Adam, which they knew was going to be a terrible movie that was going to be terribly reviewed and wasn't going to make a lot of money. And out of desperation, they told him whatever they needed to get him back. And they lied to us as well and got him to lie to us. He didn't know he was lying to us, but it was a lie. Henry Cavill was never back as Superman. David Zaslav and The Rock knew this, and they were doing anything to uplift this movie. It's disgusting treatment of Henry Cavill. And how do you feel if you're Henry Cavill right now? That's the portion I'm frustrated about. I'm not frustrated that James and Peter are going down a new direction. I'm actually quite excited by this new direction. Anyway, TY, I suspect if they're letting Cavill go, all the Snyderverse jail castings are gone too. Yes, it's something we'll have to see. I mean, look, I don't know if he's going to be bold enough to remove Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. That, to me, I see that as very unlikely that Gal's out as Wonder Woman. But who knows? But I don't think she's out as Wonder Woman, TY. I just don't. But we'll see. SLCA, what if Black Adam made 1 billion? SLCA, did Black Adam make 1 billion? Did it? That's the problem. One of the reasons Cavill's out as Superman, he didn't uplift it to $1 billion. It was a flop, my friend. It didn't make money. Jason Augustine, I think you're right, Mick. Thank you, Jason. I don't love you anymore because you're saying I'm right, but it's obviously nice that you're saying you agree with me. I like to speak facts. I like to speak. I'm very objective, and I like to kind of speak in logic. Jason Augustine, the only one who survives is Jim Gunn's, his wife, and the Suicide Squad, which did worse than Wonder Woman 84 for box office. Yeah, listen to me. This is another problematic situation. If you don't do a hard reboot and you keep your mates and your wife within this franchise, people are going to scream favoritism. How can he keep his wife? And I'm going to say this in a very respectful manner. I like his wife. I think she's a really good actor. I enjoy Amelia Harcourt in the DCEU. I have nothing personal against her. And I definitely wouldn't say no. But, sorry, I had to say that, but because that's me, I'm 50, what can I say? But at the end of the day, if you're keeping your wife in a job, but you're removing Henry Cavill, people will scream corruption and favoritism. So if he does keep her and the other actors, this is a big problem. Interestingly enough, he only made the announcement about Henry's future and nobody else's. He knew he had to speak out. He had to speak out because a week ago, it was clear that Boris Kitt and Humberto Gonzalez know a lot about what's going on behind the scenes, and he couldn't afford for this to go on and on and on. One of the things he's done well here, unlike other people who have run it, he's come out openly and honestly and told us, respectfully, that Henry's out as Superman. And I do like that. TY, why do you think Gadot won't be out? Well, why do you think she'll be out? She's an outstanding Wonder Woman, but more importantly, the general audience love her as Wonder Woman. And they, at the end of the day, you could be right and I could be wrong. She could be out. All I'm saying to you is, logically, I just don't see them doing that. Jason Augustine, why can't they just use the Flash to bring in Superman from a different Earth? Well, that would be logical, but maybe they're not going to use next year's movies to jump onto the DC universe. Maybe they're just going to release them, then jump in to something new. Paul, Zaslav conduct proves Nolan views that Warner is no longer loyal to its partners. Well, it's interesting, actually, because we know that Christopher Nolan was sitting at the same table a few weeks back as David Zaslav. So he did have that opinion of Jason Kilar when he was running things, but he clearly has a better relationship with David Zaslav, because David Zaslav wants to support cinemas. Jason Augustine, this is the baby with the bathwater. You'll have to explain to me that analogy. Right, let's continue Henry Cavill's press release. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit. But then we must remember Superman is still around, everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. That's Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is a gentleman, but right now, behind closed doors, he's going to be extremely frustrated, not at James and Peter, but at David Zaslav and The Rock, who absolutely used him in a terrible way. And The Rock is involved in this, and I don't care if you're upset about that, Rock stands. These are the facts, right? Film Goblin. I agree, it's time to do a reboot, but can Gunn and Safran pull it off? Well, that's another question, Film Goblin. We simply don't know. But this is a very interesting situation, by the way, Film Goblin. Let me just read the other thing you said. People are sad by the news, buddy. People are sad about the news. People are understandably sad about the news, and I can understand that. But attacking James Gunn isn't going to make a difference in that. But people are devastated. But we knew this was coming. In reality, we knew from Boris Kitt's article last week, it was pretty obvious this was coming. Kyle Williams, hey, just joined, but I have a quick question. Will the whole slate be revealed next month? I don't know, but he has claimed he has got a slate, so he obviously has. And it looks like they'll be announcing the whole slate sometime in the new year, early in the new year, could be next month. Paul, Mick, any inside information on upcoming Cavill projects? Cavill is always classy. He needs new management, ASAP. I don't have any inside knowledge on what Henry's doing next. We know he's doing Highlander with the director of the John Wick franchise, so that's going to be great for him. But he is sadly out as Superman. The truth of the matter was the die was cast from Justice League for him and for Ben. And as soon as I saw the terrible way they were used in Justice League, I thought there's no coming back from this. And ultimately, apart from one post-credit scene and an appearance in The Flash for Ben, there was no coming back for this. But I think Ben still has a chance of coming back. It's interesting, very interesting. But if this is a full reboot, then he's not coming back. Film Goblin, it's time to start again, to start fresh and start anew. Abraham Herrera, I didn't know about it till just now that you are talking about it, kind of watching from the sidelines now. Best of luck to DC. So, yeah, Henry Cavill, very, very gentlemanly about this situation. And we'll talk about this a bit because I think it's important to talk about this. Film Goblin, it's always came down to either continue the Snyderverse or do a full reboot. Soft reboot was never the answer. Well, at this moment in time, I'm not going to put my hand on a full reboot. I want a full reboot, but I'm not convinced that's what we're getting here. I hope I'm wrong. SLCA, Zasla seems to like James and Peter's plan. Yeah, look, I think from James's post, it's clear that that has been approved and probably was approved a long time ago. And all the nonsense about pitches and stuff were nonsense. TY, I agree, Film Goblin. So let's unpackage this. First and foremost, right, we know that Warner Brothers Discovery is a company in huge debt. Now, I did tell you I felt that James would write, or at least co-write, most of the movies in the DC universe. Now, clearly, if they're making 5 movies at the same time, he can't direct them all. If he was to make one at a time, then he could even direct most of them. But for sure, James Gunn will be at least co-writing most of these DC Universe projects. James Gunn has been writing the new Superman film for ages. One of the provisos he was given in taking this job was Superman comes first. He's the most important character. So by having James write most of these movies and TV shows, or at least be involved in the plotting and the development of them, you save a lot of money on other writers. Him being a director also saves a lot of money. Now, the question we'll all be asking is, has James Gunn got what it takes to write a great Superman movie? Now, a lot of people will be saying, well, look at his humor in Peacemaker. Well, clearly he's got to understand that some of the things he uses in his other projects can't be used here. So he has a great opportunity to write a young Superman at the beginning of his tenure. Now, this is interesting because really, isn't this what we got in Smallville seasons 8 to 10? Now, he wasn't Superman yet. He was the Blur. So this basically frees them up. New Lex, new Lois. It's going to be very interesting what he does here. So is this a reboot? Is this just another universe away from the DC Extended Universe? But the DC Extended Universe still exists. Who knows? Film Goblin, if Gunn plays favoritism and keeps Margot and his wife, then it's going to look really bad on them. Put your money where your mouth is. Well, this is the issue I have. because if they stay and Henry's gone, this is a huge issue. Film Goblin, I'm worried that J.J. Abrams might actually direct the next Superman film. That, my friends, wouldn't surprise me, because he's still got to deal with them, even though Zaslav and him disagree on the shape of that deal. Film Goblin, but I know the different Batman character actors is a major problem as well. We're going to get into that as well a little bit later on. So first of all, this is not on James and Peter. They have every right to move away from Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill has been a great Superman. And I was excited with that post-credit Black Adam scene. But even at the time, if you remember rightly, I said, is this the right way to go to continue with Henry? And I said, with Henry still around as Superman at the time, surely there's no reboot. Well, now that there is a bigger potential of a reboot. So you can be upset about Henry, but you can also think, do you know what? This is for the best. And I am upset about Henry. But he did get to appear in 3 great movies, Man of Steel, BVS, and the Snyder Cut. He was a great Superman. In a lot of ways, he was hindered by Snyder's vision. I love Snyder's vision, but he was hindered. And that's why he couldn't go forward as Superman ultimately. He's done as Superman. There's nothing I can do about that. Yes, I'll be honest. I love Henry. I'm sad for Henry. But I actually feel this is the correct decision. I believe it's the right move to move away from Henry Cavill as Superman. I believe we should move away from all of the DCEU and start from scratch. Give people an opportunity of a reset that actually works for the general audience and DC fans as well. Because we're seeing the lack of money coming in for DC content, and that can't be denied. Paul, James Gunn feels like a road to nowhere, as I believe Zaslav will sell to Universal eventually, so many tax write-offs plus removing content from streaming to cut residual payments. Well, we've already seen there's another series that's been shot and that was renewed, cancelled at HBO Max. Again, more tax write-downs. So this guy is just here to kind of steady the ship financially. And you could be right. You could ultimately sell out to Universal. Now, a thriving DC would bring in more money because obviously they're not going to be able to sell this thing if it's not a successful thing. They'll be able to sell it, but not for as much money. TY, if they're doing a younger suit, probably a new younger Bats then too, which makes Margot's Harley unlikely. That's a good point. I can only cross my fingers and hope for the best. But yeah, be interesting, and with all these Batmen and all these Gotham cities, maybe a younger Batman would be a good thing as well. We will see what he's doing. Could this be kind of a young think about this. Could this be a Young Justice DC universe? That could be an option for James Gunn. Film Goblin, this new regime at WB wants to tell their new stories with DC and not continue the old. Of course they don't, because the old stories haven't sold very well. Leroy Kong, hello guys, I'm out. I'm done. No more DC movies for me. James Gunn, WBD, sucked. Film Goblin, which means the next year DC movies aren't important to the company. Well, by the way, Nostradamus here told you that next year's movies are irrelevant. I told you that. Even James Gunn's confirmed in terms of continuity, his films literally are not involved with what's going on next year. And he said his new universe begins after Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. We will see. I hope it's a full reboot. Then I can back it. And I want to back it and I want to be excited. I don't want to be sold a lie that we're knocking the E out of DCEU and calling it DC Universe, but it's the same old shit. I don't want the same old shit. I've enjoyed an element of the DCEU, but it hasn't worked. And we must move on from it. And that's a factual statement. Sean Franklin, you think Austin Butler, he plays good Superman. Austin Butler is one of the biggest talents signed up to WB right now. He's going to be in the sequel to June. So he's obviously very well respected there. I don't know how tall he is. But he looks like the real deal. He's a great actor. I think we could have a future Christopher Reeve on our hands. Yeah. TY, yeah, full reboot all the way. TY opens up all possibilities. So much potential. Film Goblin. At this point, they may as well continue the Pattinson Batman as part of the new DCU. Well, Film Goblin, that was confirmed yesterday. So I'm going to get into this right now, and I'm going to be floating back to the Henry Cavill situation. But just to make my take absolutely clear, the way it was handled back in October, telling us he was back, and then James and Peter saying he wasn't back, right? Like with this Twitter post, this reveal, it hasn't been well handled. It's not James and Peter's fault, and at the end of the day, it's down to Zaslav and the studio. They used Henry to uplift Black Adam. It failed, and now Henry's out. That's showbiz, everyone. They don't treat people very nice. And by the way, nobody actually likes each other in the entertainment industry. If someone tells you they're your mate in this industry, watch your fucking back. Yes, TY, Gunn and Reeves both debunked Pattinson being in the DCU. I'm going to get into this because I've got a little bit of a theory about this. So let's get back to this. So yesterday, Variety did a whole spread. A well-placed source tells Variety that James Gunn and Peter Safran are exploring the possibility of incorporating Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's Batman into their wider DC universe. James Gunn responded, "There are few reporters I love more than Adam B. Vary, truly a good guy, but in this case he needs to get a new source as this is entirely untrue." So James Gunn clarifies that this is not true. Also, Matt Reeves came out yesterday and said, "My favourite source is James Gunn." Let me tell you what I think about all of this. And let me just get rid of this pop-up. Right. A week ago, or just over a week ago, Boris Kitt and the Hollywood Reporter exposed WB's plans for the new DC universe. And with what's happened, with the official confirmation from James Gunn that Henry Cavill is out as Superman, Boris Kitt was right. They were embarrassed by being exposed so quickly. And I'm suspecting that's why James Gunn had to come out about the future of Henry Cavill before Boris Kitt had another exclusive, or even Humberto Gonzalez, who has been very, very warm on what's going on over there. So I believe, because Variety have always had a relationship with WB, they've always spread their propaganda. Remember the Ann Sarnoff article where she was attacking fans and said there was no chance of more Snyderverse? Remember that? On Variety, they have a good relationship. I believe the Adam B. Vary article where he says there was a chance of, Pattinson being involved in DCU was a staged event. So it was staged so James Gunn could come in and say, no, it's not true. Basically, it was staged to make like James Gunn has a handle on the DC narrative. Clearly, considering the article from Boris Kitt and THR last week, he clearly hasn't got a handle on the rumours and the leaks going on. And this was just an attempt to make it look like they know what they're doing and they've got a handle on the leaks. No, you haven't. So I believe Adam B. Vary's Variety article that was claiming Pattinson might come into DCU was a staged event. So superhero James Gunn can come in and look like he's got total control of leaks, but he hasn't. So I'm calling bullshit on this whole situation. And it was hilarious seeing all the DC shields going, yeah, James, trust in James and Peter. So let me read some of these comments and then we'll get into it. Film Goblin, it's time to move on. Ryan, Dawn of Hope, DCU fan cinematics. I agree. Keep Henry Cavill or let him go. It was a bold move, but I respect it. We need a new DCU Superman, and we are finally getting one. Leroy Com, I have already moved on. There are clowns still running DC films. Paul, Mick, will the Batman get a sequel as Reeves is not going to play in Gunn's universe? New Superman will be unknown. Gunn does not need to fight with the trades. It's futile. Right. Basically, I've just explained to you that James Gunn debunked a report that was saying he was looking to bring in Matt Reeves' universe into the DC universe. Matt Reeves is getting his sequel. Matt Reeves is getting his Penguin and Arkham spin-offs. Matt Reeves Batman and Gotham will stay within its own thing. That's remaining. End of story there. We pretty much already knew this, but again, this has been confirmed. But I think that was a staged event. And there you go. Now, I am not a fan of more than one Batman. I think it's ridiculous. Now, considering that Matt's Batman universe remains in its own universe, I think DC Universe shouldn't touch Batman. It's unfortunate, but you can't have more than one Batman. Guess we have now got 3 Gotham cities. We're going to have one in DC Universe. We've already got one in Matt Reeves' universe. And we've got another Gotham City in the Joker franchise from Todd Phillips. And I can tell you we're getting a teenage Bruce Wayne in Joker 2, Joker Folie à Deux. 3 Bruce Waynes. We've got 3 Bruce Waynes, 3 Gotham cities. How do you expect the general audience not to be confused? I think it's absolutely a ridiculous situation. But I'm kind of divided on this because I'm looking forward to Joker 2. I'm looking forward to all the Batman stuff with Matt Reeves because Matt Reeves knows his stuff and I enjoyed the Batman movie. But I just think having more than one Batman is absolutely ridiculous. And I bet you we don't have more than one Superman, or will we? Who the fuck knows? We won't. But James Gunn has inherited a difficult situation. Zaslav is protecting Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips. He wants them to continue separately, and that's what's going to happen. Film Goblin, I would like to get the Snyderverse story conclusion as an animated movie. It's never going to happen. You're saying yourself, Film Goblin, move on. It's time to move on. It is not happening, my friend. John, hey, Mick, what's this news about Superman? Right, John. James Gunn has officially posted and confirmed. Let me reread it to you again. It looks like you haven't been keeping up on what was going on. You must have been hiding under a rock. So this is what James Gunn had to say. Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. Among those on the slate is Superman in the initial stages. Our story will be Superman's life. Sorry, let's say that again. Focusing on the earlier part of Superman's life. So the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. But we just had a great meeting with Henry and we're big fans. We talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. Is that bullshit? Is it soft soap? Who knows? It's not an origin movie and James Gunn has been writing this for a while. He's confirmed I am writing and have been for a while. We don't know who's directing it yet. Please tell me it isn't an origin movie. James Gunn says no way. Could Ben Affleck direct? James Gunn met with Ben yesterday precisely because he wants to direct and we want him to direct. We just have to find the right project. So that's what James Gunn had to say, John. Basically, Henry Cavill is out as Superman. And Henry Cavill has also made a statement confirming that back in October when he appeared in that post-credit scene in Black Adam, he was told by the studio he was back as Superman prior to Gunn and Safran coming in. But once Gunn and Safran came in, they didn't want Henry Cavill as Superman. So he's now out as Superman. James Gunn is writing a Superman film. James Gunn is a very capable storyteller. We will see if this works out. I'm not going to make huge predictions on success and failure. We will finally see if James Gunn is the real deal and not a one-trick pony who can do good team-ups of characters who, let's just say, have been less than stellar in their lives. Can he do anything different? He hasn't really been challenged. Superman is a huge challenge. Many people have tried to make Superman a success and failed. The Krypton TV show. We've had Superman Returns. We've had lots of different attempts, even ones that we never heard about. Many, maybe even better writer-directors than James Gunn have failed at doing this. So James Gunn attempts to make a successful version of Superman in the movies, but this is a Superman that will be part of an interconnected universe, which is very exciting. So I'm actually in agreement with James Gunn and Peter. I think it's right to move on from Henry Cavill. I know not everyone will agree with that. I love Henry. I was even a little bit dubious when he came back. I was excited, as you know. I can't say I wasn't excited. But ultimately, was this the best thing for DC going forward? And I think it wasn't the best thing for DC going forward. And I think that James and Peter have made a very hard decision, in moving Henry on and starting again. But I do wave red flags. Be careful, because the next Superman could be an inclusive hire. And then, my friends, we really are going to have a big issue. So let's see if it's a comic book accurate Superman or an inclusive casting. We'll see. Paul, Mick, I've just realised, being so distracted about DC drama, what about non-DC Warner movies for 2023 and beyond? Any good titles to look out for? Honestly, I have no idea what's coming out. I don't even think, maybe you'll be interested in Margot Robbie's Barbie movie. Yeah, there you go. That is the level of Warner Brothers, who are celebrating 100 years of making entertainment. How can they even bother bragging about their 100 years in the industry? They've had such a great history. And now look at what they are. Isn't it embarrassing to even talk about their history? Jonathan Garcia, do you think they'll do a full reboot? I want them to do a full reboot. I mean, this Superman news is interesting, but I'm not convinced we're doing a full reboot. I hope we're doing a full reboot, but I don't know the plan. So I can't, in all good senses say to you, oh yeah, I think they're doing a full reboot. I don't know. There'll be other YouTubers who will say to you, yeah, full reboot, definitely happening. I want that, but I'm not sure if that's the way they're going, considering he's still going to do a Peacemaker 2, unless he's not anymore. We'll have to wait and see. CLSA, why is Peter Safran silent? His job, that's not his job. His job is not to come onto Twitter and talk to you. His job is to be the silent side of the partnership. James Gunn, one of the reasons he's here is because he's popular and he can talk on Twitter. You don't need to hear from both of them, do you now? It's not his job to be a mouthpiece. The whole point is, my friend, ultimately, they're supposed to be making movies and making content and writing stuff and making decisions on this franchise, not coming on social media to talk to us. That's the point. Jonathan Garcia, I don't think they'll do a full reboot. They may swap out some characters with recast. Jonathan Garcia, Ben is out most likely. Well, it is interesting. It does look like he's out most likely, but as I confirmed earlier, James Gunn has met with Ben Affleck, and they're trying to find a DC movie for him to direct, which is really, really exciting. Film Goblin, Gunn has been silent on Peacemaker Season 2 for a while now. Might not happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I like it. I like the first series, but if you keep Peacemaker, if you're doing another Peacemaker, it means we're not doing a full reboot. And that's something that extremely triggers me. And basically, I don't believe we are doing a full reboot, but I hope I'm wrong. But because that's what he said to us. He's spoken about a secret movie. He's spoken about doing Peacemaker 2. So it's clear if you're doing Peacemaker 2, unless you decide that there's two universes now. And Peacemaker 2 is within the old DCEU, but DC Universe is on another Earth. Again, really, really confusing stuff. So it's a bit of a mess. John, what do you think will happen with the Rock's Black Adam now that Henry is out? You can absolutely forget about Black Adam going forward, because the film was a disaster. In terms of money, it was a disaster. And, I mean, let me know, did you like Black Adam? Film Goblin, The Rock ain't co. Jonathan Garcia, do you think they'll change the ending of The Flash to show the changes? I don't think they will do that, but the problem is they do need to explain. Hopefully when he reveals the slate next year, early next year, hopefully January, he explains what part his films will play or not play within the old DCEU. We need to know this before Flash, because if we see those changes in the Flash movie and there's no context or no explanation, people are still going to think that the DCEU is still a thing or whatever they're planning. I don't know, but yeah. So we need some explanation. The way he's talking, I don't think they're using the Flash to do that, but we'll have to wait and see. Film Goblin, The Rock ain't coming back since he made he made bad with WB. Yeah, listen, it's over for The Rock. Making a Black Adam movie was a bad idea, as it was, but to allow The Rock to bring in his own people to make a Black Adam movie was a disaster. I enjoyed Black Adam. I enjoy a lot of films that I don't think are the best movies, but ultimately, I don't want to see any more of that at the end of the day. But I think that what does prove we're not doing a full reboot, we've got actors like the guy who played Hawkman looking forward to be doing more. We'll see. Film Goblin, if Ezra Miller ain't coming back, I have no point in having his Flash movie to set up the DCU. That's a good point. Isn't it interesting that there's been a big statement about Henry Cavill? Imagine this, everyone. Imagine this. Imagine if Henry Cavill's out and Ezra Miller isn't. Think about that. And why no big announcement on the future of Ezra Miller? Why? Because they want Ezra's fans to think there's a chance, so they go and watch the movie. So, yeah. Jonathan Garcia, I can't see what that picture is, my friend. But yeah, so wouldn't it be ironic if Ezra Miller remains and Henry Cavill is out? I don't see that personally. But it's interesting, I think, because Superman's the most important thing. And I do think that the media were about to reveal to us that Henry Cavill was definitely out and they were going to have proof of this. So I think maybe that's why James Gunn was forced to come out and be honest about the future of Henry Cavill. I think since the Boris THR article, they've been conferring with themselves and thinking, shit, we're in big trouble here. They're going to reveal the fucking lot. Let's reveal it before somebody else does. That was a great move. At last, they made a great move because even since James Gunn's come in, there's been some very, very iffy decision-making in terms of the way he's conducted himself on social media. And I've spoken about this so many times. Jonathan Garcia, it's interesting that they're going younger Superman. It is, and how much younger? Are we talking Clark Kent in Smallville, in the final 3 seasons of Smallville? How much younger? Could this mean that we're going for a younger Justice League team? So, what's that? You know, the animated series, what's that called? Young Justice. Could the new DC universe be going Young Justice? I do think he's kind of hinted about Young Justice live action before. So I think we could be doing a Young Justice League, a Young Justice. Would you be excited about that? Film Goblin, I just don't see why it's so hard for them to not just do a full reboot. Well, if they don't do a full reboot, you can ask James Gunn that on social media because you're right. Well, it's laziness. I'll tell you why. They're lazy. They're creatively lazy. That's the only reason. That's the only reason why you may not get a full reboot. Ronnie Dodge, morning, mate. Good morning, Ronnie. You know what's going on? Get involved with the conversation. What do you think of Henry Cavill being out as Superman? Paul, the picture is a cat in a box. Thank you very much. Jonathan Garcia, at least they're being honest with the fans rather than leaving us in the dark. But the point is, Jonathan, last week's Hollywood Reporter article exposed all this information anyway. So I don't think they had the intention of being honest with us quite so soon, if you ask me. Jonathan Garcia, Blue Beetle should be a part of Young Justice. Well, I do have some information on Blue Beetle. We're going to read that out very, very shortly before my battery runs out as well. So we will get there. Film Goblin, I think the new DCU will be like the Tomorrowverse. Film Goblin, I'm not the biggest of knowledgeable people on comics. Yeah, I know, right? My loss. Why don't you explain to us here on the live chat right now what the Tomorrowverse actually means? Ronnie Dodge, if it's a full reboot, I'm down for it. Ronnie Dodge, I've just woken up to chaos, yeah? There's a lot of hot takes on Twitter. The explosion has begun, but I will give you my take straight away, Ronnie. I'm more than happy with this direction that James and Peter are going in, a young Superman. I'm happy for them to move on from Henry Cavill. I feel bad for Henry, though, because they lied to Henry and they also lied to us. They told us Henry was back as Superman just to uplift the Black Adam box office and I still think they were planning on dumping him. Yes, that's how they treat people in this industry. So their treatment of their fans and the misinformation they gave to Henry Cavill to try and get us to go and watch Black Adam was absolutely disgusting, but that's not on James and Peter. And I'm happy with this new direction for my favourite character in fiction. Film Goblin, Tomorrowverse as in the recent DC animated film, like Superman, Man of Tomorrow and JSA World War II. Thank you for that. Louise Berry, hope to get Cavill soups in Shazam 2. Does it even matter anymore? Does it really matter? It doesn't really matter anymore. And by the way, will this news of Henry Cavill's exit hurt next year's DCEU films? I think there could be a huge statement of mass boycotts for next year's movies. Now, it's very interesting. Certainly, I am less motivated to go to the cinema and watch next year's 4 movies. Now, I've got a job to do on this channel. So I am trying to get, I've seen some of next year's movies already. But like Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I haven't seen, for example. Ronnie Dodge, I guess you need a younger Superman for the 10-year plan. And Ronnie, that's a good point. And also, I think if you want to bring a younger general audience, a younger Superman the fans can relate to, the younger general audience can relate to, is very important. But that's a good point about the 10-year plan. Jonathan Garcia, they should move Shazam 2. To when? To when? They've moved it half a dozen times. It's out in March. Why do you want it moved again, Jonathan? But I'm going to be honest. Ronnie Dodge, James writing the script, I find interesting. Well, before you came in, Ronnie, I explained that situation. Now, what you've got to see is that James Gunn is a bit like Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat when they were running Doctor Who. Basically, James Gunn is the head writer for the DC universe. He's the head writer. He will either write or co-write or at least pen the stories for most of this DCU content, whether it's animation, DC Universe movies or TV or streaming or whatever. Plus, it's cheaper if he does most of the storytelling. And it doesn't mean he'll pen every single movie, but the stories will be his. Basically, he is the showrunner of the new DC Universe. And that is my kind of way of explaining it to you very simply. So he'll be writing a lot of this stuff. John, maybe Ben Affleck could direct the Deathstroke movie for DC. Well, maybe that's something that James Gunn has already planned, but I'm happy that he's talking to people like Ben Affleck, that he hasn't shut the door on Henry Cavill as an actor coming back for DC. Now, he's doing this because he's trying to hope that he can keep the Snyderverse stans happy. He can't. Unfortunately, a lot of them just don't like you, James. Now, I love what Zack did, but I don't hate James Gunn. I respect James Gunn. But I'm not a shill. I am not Boba Talks. I am not going to say, let's go with the process. In the Second World War, people said, let's go with the process. We can trust Hitler. Look what happened there. When they were locking us all down in COVID and creating COVID camps, the people who said, let's go with the flow, look what happened there. Saying that I trust James and Peter implicitly and let's see what they do could lead to terror. People who say, let's go with the flow and let's trust the people in authority has never ended well in the history of humanity. So I will never say I trust James and Peter and I'm just going to go with whatever they do. No, I'm a passionate, opinionated son of a bitch, and I will absolutely always tell you what I think. And I'm sure James Gunn respects someone more for being honest, but respectful with their views rather than being a kiss-ass YouTuber. Ronnie Dodge, who would you have as a younger Clark Kent? Well, listen, there are so many talented young actors out there who can absolutely, act the hell out of this. I think the one right now out there that I think we should be not necessarily casting him, but looking to as a similar casting is we need a Tom Holland. A Tom Holland, but 6 foot, obviously, and as good an actor is the kind of thing that we need. But there are lots of actors around the UK, America, around the world who could fit in this role. So I'm not going to throw you a famous name. For me, it has to be a good actor. They have to look the business. Look, I'm sure James will find the right person to fit this role. Who he picks will be very, very interesting going forward, though. Film Goblin, but if Gunn wants to go for a younger cast, then how is he going to do Kingdom Come? That's a good question, and I don't know. But, of course, there is a way. You keep the DCEU characters, but you move on another plane, another Earth, another universe, but you keep them there. And maybe you can use them to do Kingdom Come. Imagine this, because in Kingdom Come, there's a big disaster, right? Big, it basically goes really bad. Well, what if he literally destroys the DCEU? That it blows up, there's no building, society breaks down, and basically this young Justice, and basically whoever's remaining from that other universe basically team up. And maybe that's how he adapts Kingdom Come. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. SLCA, do you like the movie Brightburn? I thought it was okay. I didn't think any more of that. I don't think it's a classic or anything, but I thought it was okay. It was interesting. Ronnie Dodge, I'm interested what the slate is, Jay. We will find out just after the new year. Yeah, because with that slate, he'll explain what its connectivity is or not with in terms of the DCEU. We'll get a lot more information. Definitely excited about that. We definitely know Superman is a part of that slate now, but what other characters will also be part of that slate? That's going to cause a lot of conversations, and I can't wait to have those conversations here with you on Movies TV Mad. Ronnie Dodge, Superman not living in Smallville in the James plan, so I would say actor in his 20s. Well, yeah, something like that. Sometimes you get older actors to play younger characters, so I don't know, because you would assume he's not living in Smallville anymore. But we'll see. He said he's a younger Superman, whatever that means. That could mean anything. But I think we are going young Justice, and I think that's interesting. Look, I don't know how they're doing this. It's just a guess. And when I say young Justice, I mean his version of a young Justice, not necessarily a copy and paste of the animated series. But it's interesting. How'd you go? Because basically in the comics, Superman is Superman. He takes the mantle up at 25, 30. So how much younger than that? Because if that's the case, Henry Cavill could definitely pass for 25, 30. But clearly, he's probably going to be a lot younger. Ronnie Dodge, Jimmy Olsen lives. Sorry, I'm happy about that. Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy Olsen is the audience's way into the story. He's a young schoolboy who's left school, gets a job. He's a great character. I'm sure James Gunn will be bringing him into it. And this is the difference between people like James Gunn and Zack Snyder, of course. Rewind the times. None of this sounds interesting. I personally don't want a young Superman. I love DC and it just feels like a huge mess. Thank you for your view. Rewind the times. I think it is a good idea to move away from Henry Cavill. I'm happy about it, but I'm not happy how it's been done. I'm not happy about what happened over Black Adam and the way they re-announced him as Superman. That was bad, but we must move on. Ronnie Dodge, casting new Lois is interesting. Yeah, clearly we're getting a new Lois Lane. I'm happy about that as well. I love Amy Adams. She's a well-renowned, respected actress. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't say that her Lois is one of my favorites. I think she did a great job as the character. She just didn't feel like the Lois Lane that I imagined. Lois Lane is a compassionate, passionate character, but I didn't feel she had the personality of previous Lois Lanes. My favorite Loises are Margot Kidder from the Christopher Reeve franchise and Erica Durance from Smallville. I think they're the best interpretations of Lois Lane. So looking forward for a new version from James Gunn. So it is exciting that we're getting a Superman movie from the mind of James Gunn, but this is huge. There can be, failure isn't an option. He has to be successful. He's just got rid of one of the most popular versions of Superman. So he can't make any mistakes, and he knows that. This is the biggest challenge of James Gunn's career, and he's really put himself on the chopping block. I respect his bravery, ultimately, for doing that, because not a lot of people would, nobody else wanted this job because they know the calamity the studio's in and how, but I do think that they're allowing him to do what he wants. And I think that's important. Ronnie Dodge, I feel a reboot is probably the best way to save DC. I know people are emotional right now, but I'm excited and James has balls. Well, we still don't know. Obviously, Superman is somewhat being rebooted, but we don't know if the whole thing's being rebooted. I hope it is. Normally, I'd say yes, but we know he's still doing Peacemaker, if he still is. So how does this work out? Well, he will tell us. As I say, for me, a soft reboot is ill-advised. He will be accused of favoritism. If he's going to replace Henry, he has to replace everyone. And if he doesn't do that, he will be he will be in a lot of trouble with the public, especially the Snyderverse fans, but not just them. A lot of people who are not within Snyderverse actually love Henry as Superman as well. People like that Star Wars girl, if you know who she is, loves Henry Cavill. I think she wants basically to do some undescriptive things with him, but basically a lot of women love Cavill as well. So you're losing a lot of the female audience as well when you get rid of Cavill. So it's a huge decision, by the way. It's a huge decision. Rewind the times. I don't trust no management at WB. CEO David Zaslav looks terrible here. He didn't even go to bat for Henry after rehiring him. Yeah, it's weird. Look, as I say, that decision was, the way they conducted that was ridiculous. And I think they lied to Henry. I think they never had any intention of bringing Henry back. I just think the whole intention was to save Black Adam, and they failed. And for that, they blamed Henry Cavill, rightly or wrongly. So where are we? Rewind the times. I don't trust no management W. No, for Henry. No, sorry. I've already read that. Where are we? Ronnie Dodge, be interesting what happens with Gal and Jason and others. Yeah, I think Jason will be done. I think Jason will be done as Aquaman, I think. And I think he probably is getting Lobo, and I think that's part of the deal. And now Gal Gadot is going to be the interesting one. Now, logically, you would imagine, the most popular, Justice League member is Gal Gadot. And I'd be surprised if they get rid of her, but it would certainly be another bold statement. Again, I love her, but I'm not against that move either. Rewind the time. Zachary Levi seems to think he's safe. You can't pick and choose who you want. Doesn't look good at all. It doesn't. If he stays in Henry Goes, I won't be happy at all, and I won't hide that frustration. Believe you me, I will be fighting for you on that one. Ronnie Dodge, I feel for Henry. He was used like a piece of meat. It was despicable, absolutely despicable, to save a movie that they knew was going to fail. Film Goblin, that was Mike DeLuca and Pam Abbey before Gunn and Saffron came in. Well, no. You can blame them, but actually David Zaslav, yes, I know. Yes, the Henry Cavill situation was before James and Peter came in. Yes, absolutely. But Abbey and DeLuca were told by Zaslav what to do. They all lied to Henry and us that Henry was back to uplift the Black Adam movie, and they're the facts. Phil Goblin, that's why there is an internal war at WB. There was an internal war with other people. Those people are gone, and now there's a new internal war. God help James Gunn and Peter Safran. If they fuck this up, there'll be no hiding place for them. Paul, whatever Gunn's plans, the DC universe needs to grow organically and not be rushed. Excited to see what new projects Cavill gets. With all what happened, he needs to start producing his projects. Well, the thing is, I like the idea of these DCU characters being younger and they can grow into their roles. So if that's what you're talking about, organic, I agree with you there. Jonathan Garcia, I just wish we could have seen a Justice League 2 and 3, even if it's an Elseworld story, but I know it's unlikely. Film Goblin, I will be pissed if Margot, Zach, and Levi stay. So will I. Ronnie Dodge, I'm annoyed at Dwayne Johnson and WB for using Henry, but if the Flash is the goodbye to the actors, well, we're not even sure if Henry will appear in the Flash now. That they're not even sure if they want to keep that sequence of him they especially made when they brought him back. So it's a bit of a mess. It's interesting, and considering if you believe them, they were bringing Henry back for good. Clearly, they were planning on bringing someone else to lead DC. It seems to me that the original plan was Mike DeLuca to run DC Studios, and then for some reason, Zaslav went with Gunn and Safran. And I think this is a problem now. I think there probably is an internal war between Mike DeLuca and James Gunn. Rewind the times. I'm not happy at all. This brand I love is becoming more and more of a joke each day. Is Gunn going to just erase all of his work with the DC currently? They should have hired people with no ties. Well, you do make an interesting point there, Rewind the Times. Film Goblin, I guess Henry must have done something to piss the WB executives off. I don't think that's anything to do with it, my friend. That's nothing to do with it. Ronnie Dodge, I wonder if they will keep Sasha Supergirl, as it could be a younger Superman. Well, here's the thing. If it's a full reboot, then Sasha Calle won't be playing Supergirl. If there are still connections to the old DCEU, she will. So that'll be interesting as well. Sasha Calle may be a one and done, so if you're looking forward to seeing her, just enjoy her in the Flash. Film Goblin, maybe Henry Cavill was demanding too much money or creative control. I don't know. It all sounds fishy. No, I don't think it's anything to do with more money. Maybe creative control. I don't know. I mean, he did claim he wanted more creative control, but I don't think that's the issue, because ultimately they were going to go with him. They would have discussed all of this already, you would hope. So I think this is a creative decision from James and Peter, and nothing to do with any drama behind the scenes. Hashling me, was Henry too early to announce the news back in October and gave her false hope? Well, he claims in his press release today, saying he's actually not back as Superman, that the studio told him he was back in October. But I did warn about him coming out and saying what he was saying. And I did say it was all ill-conceived, that it was going to end in tears. I was right again. Just call me Nostradamus. Ronnie Dodge, I'm not as excited for these movies now, but as a DC fan, I will see them. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, listen, I have to see them. I've seen a test screening of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and the Flash movie. I haven't seen Blue Beetle, and I haven't seen Shazam! Fury of the Gods. But I need to have knowledge on these films because I run this account and I want to carry on running this YouTube channel because I enjoy it. So I have to have full knowledge. But in excitement as a DC fan, no, the focus is on James Gunn's future now and see what he does, if he can do something better. Because ultimately, there's no excitement for next year. Ronnie Dodge, I guess Xolo will stick around as Blue Beetle. Maybe that's why James Gunn posted the Blue Beetle poster a couple of weeks ago. So probably they may try and reuse that version of the character, which means it's not a full reboot, which is problematic for me. Rewind the times. WB is a company looking for money, and you just came out and said these next 4 movies are the point to go see them. I feel bad for directors Sandberg and Wan. People might not come out and support them. Yeah, I think that's the point. And, Wan had a problem already because Amber Heard's involved with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. For me, I'm not even excited about talking about them, but there is some Blue Beetle news we need to get into. So let's get into that. Because there has been a second test screening for Blue Beetle. So where are we? Here we are. So let's get into this news. So you can keep on posting about the headline we have today, which is Henry Cavill has been confirmed by James Gunn to be out as Superman as James and Peter look to develop a young Superman movie. I think this is the right decision, but I'm absolutely sad and regretful over Henry Cavill's pain because he loves Superman and he wanted to continue playing Superman. and the way WB have handled this has been ridiculous. So let's get into this. Blue Beetle's story details reportedly revealed in new DCU. Hey, is that what you're telling me? Let me get through this. I actually thought this was about the test screening, which I haven't seen, by the way. So let's have a look. The official synopsis for Blue Beetle teases a significant change for Jamie Ray's introduction to the DCU. Amid uncertainty over the future of the DCU, Blue Beetle fans have been constantly in fear of the movie getting canned, following the cancellation of the fully shot Batgirl. In case though fans can finally be at ease, there's been a major shake-up at DC with the creation of DC Studios and the hiring of James Gunn and Peter Safran to oversee the DCU. Both new DC leaders want to see Blue Beetle debut in theatres. Gunn has talked on social media about wanting to see people's reaction to actor George Lopez's performance in Blue Beetle, and Safran is a producer on the movie. Yeah, so obviously that's going to be part of the new DCU because Safran has produced it. Do you get it? Do you understand now why there's not going to be a full reboot? Ronnie Dodge, if James reboots JL, Casey will go comic book accuracy. Ronnie Dodge cast. I think actually, guess everything is possible now, and the Batman 2 might also get cancelled for this whole rebooted, interconnected universe. The Batman 2 will not be getting cancelled, hashling me. It's happening. It's definitely happening. It's going nowhere. So DC fans will be eager to find out just what the movie's story entails. The synopsis tells the fans of a major change in Jamie's life, as the character will be introduced in the film as a recent college grad rather than a high school student. This should prove exciting as it positions Jamie's story to have a more mature tone and escapes the restraints of having to see yet another superhero movie confined to a high school setting. Check out the full synopsis below. Hang on, how many superhero movies do you know that are confined to a high school? Sorry, I know you're going to say Spider-Man, but what else? Yeah, sorry everyone. I thought this was about leaks, but it's not. Never mind. So there's nothing to see there. Where are we? Ronnie Dodge, Batman is staying on its own pocket. Yes, listen, that Variety article for me was just a staged event. Variety is a propaganda machine for WB. I think that fake article was mocked up on purpose to make James Gunn look like he has a handle on the leaks when he hasn't got a handle on the leaks because Boris Kitt and Humberto Gonzalez keep on revealing stuff. Everything we're hearing about Superman now was literally told to us by Boris Kitt last week of THR. So I think that Variety article yesterday was staged to make James Gunn look like he has got a handle of things. Even Matt Reeves coming out of hibernation. I think this was all very suspicious and dubious. Film Goblin, possibly there could have been creative differences with Cavill and Gunn. Look, it's possible. It could be possible, but I just feel that that's not the way they wanted to go. But let's be clear here, you could be right, and if he doesn't get rid of anyone else and gets rid of Henry, then obviously there's a big issue here, and the audience are not dumb enough to fall for it. Because if others stay and Henry is gone, people are going to really not going to be happy. They're already not happy. Ronnie Dodge, this probably means Dick Grayson is not dead, which is another positive. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, definitely. Hashling me. Wonder Woman's done. Superman's done. How about Batfleck? I had no idea, but Ben Affleck apparently has spoken to James Gunn about directing a DC movie. Rewind the times. In the bigger picture, if you were an actor or actress, would you want to work for WB after you see how they treat their talent? Well, to be honest with you, Rewind the Times, this industry isn't famous for treating their talent very well. They're all treated like pieces of meat. Say this, look there, do that. And that's the life of an actor, I'm afraid. But yeah, when you see things being cancelled on HBO Max so they don't have to pay actors residuals, it's, you do kind of think twice. But let me tell you something. I'm an actor, and it's not easy to get work as an actor, and you can't pick and choose who you work for, and they'll all treat you like absolute shit. No matter what you see in your DVD, BTS, where like One Family, the studio has been great. They all hate each other. They all treat each other like shit. It's not a very nice place to work. But if it's your job, it's your job. And we all enjoy acting. Film Goblin, Well, what's with what? Well, that's what I'm asking. If they aren't doing a full reboot and keep everyone but get rid of Cavill, it looks suspicious on Cavill's part. Then not on WB or James Gunn's. No, actually, Goblin, I couldn't disagree less. If they're only recasting Henry, that says something on them as well, right? Because everyone's a diva, my friend. Everyone's a diva in life. I don't know what Henry's like behind the scenes, but everyone, these young girls who are working with him on Enola Holmes, and different projects, love Henry, and he's like a big brother to them. So at the end of the day, I don't think there's an issue with Henry here. In fact, I feel, Film Goblin, if he is the only one to be replaced, the suspicion is on the studio and James and Peter and not on Henry. That's how I feel about that. Ronnie Dodge, I feel Henry being used was Dwayne desperately trying to save his movie. Yeah, but he couldn't have done that on his own, could he? He needed higher up permission to actually bring him back in the first place. So Zaslav, DeLuca, Abbey, and The Rock are all to blame, definitely. Hashing mean Ronnie Dodge. A part of me also thinks the same. So at the end of the day, yeah, look, you can keep on going back to Grace Randolph and this, this thing, Henry Cavill's a diva, blah, 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 blah. No. There are so many fucking divas. Look at all those film stars who get roles all the time. If you sell a product, you sell a product. They don't care. That's not the reason. Ronnie Dodge, wonder if Ray Fisher will say something. The guy always has something to say. Yeah, it will be interesting to see what he's a big fan of Henry. In fact, when they announced they were replacing Henry with a black suit man, Ray actually came out against it. And I actually really respected Ray for coming out, considering he's a black man himself. Film Goblin, so what is it they have against Henry? Forgot about Ray Fisher. Well, I'll tell you what they've got against Henry, what they've got against the entire DCEU. You've seen it for yourselves. The DCEU doesn't have consumer loyalty. Like, we have 14 people interested in DC right now. I reckon only a quarter of you actually go to the cinema and support these movies. There is no brand loyalty with the DCEU. They put Henry Cavill in Black Adam to see how much it would uplift the movie. And he didn't uplift the movie. So they're probably thinking, what's the point here? But ultimately, we've got to go with what they're officially saying. James and Peter are going a different direction. We heard this with Patty Jenkins as well, where they're going a different direction, and what she's doing isn't in line with what they want to do. They want to do something new, whether they're starting from scratch or not. They want to do something bold and new, and they want to bring people, new consumers into it, so they can make $1 billion a picture. They say they can make money. It's a business. So this is one of the reasons that Henry Cavill isn't there. Ronnie Dodge, just changing the subject quickly. Have you seen Michael B. Jordan is part owner of Bournemouth? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I don't really like all of this. I don't like, what's his name? Deadpool owning a club and all the hype and bullshit that goes around it. I don't fall for it. These people being involved in football isn't good because they're not football people at the end of the day. That's no better than the Glazers running Manchester United as far as I'm concerned. I don't trust wealthy people. I think they're all corrupt. I don't trust famous people because I know quite a few and I know how it all works in life. Once you're famous, you're run by agents and representatives. And, it's just not this. Look, honestly, it's not like your mates. It's not like the world. Unless you've been in this world, you don't get this world. And if you knew these people in this world, you wouldn't trust anyone. You wouldn't be saying, let's trust James and Peter, if you knew how this industry actually works. Hashing me, I'm not catching up. So what do you think regarding the news? Are you okay with it? Yes, I'm very okay with James and Peter going with a younger Superman. I think it is time to move away from Henry. I love Henry as Superman, but it was time. It wasn't the right way to go forward. It wasn't going to bring more money. It wasn't going to bring more interest to cinemas. Black Adam proved that. And it was time to move on. Yes, I just don't like the way WB handled it by saying he was back, then saying he's not back. This is not a good look whatsoever. But narratively and creatively, I absolutely agree with the decision. And I'm quite excited about it too. Ronnie Dodge, yep, agree, Mick, back to DC. Rewind the times. If they purposely put Henry in Black Adam for 20 seconds to see if they would get a response, that's so absurd, since the clip was all over the internet within 24 hours of the movie coming out. Well, you're right about the thing on the internet, but obviously it was done to make money, whether it was coming out on the internet or not. If people were excited, they would have suddenly wanted to see Black Adam. The problem is here, they knew Black Adam wasn't a particularly great movie and a waste of their time. So they were never going to go and see it over that. But putting someone in something to upscale it is the oldest thing. This is why Dirty Den was brought back to EastEnders when ratings on the show were low. That's why EastEnders brought back Ian Bill the other day and different things. If you're American, you don't know what I'm talking about. Stunt casting has been a thing since the entertainment industry was formed. This was a stunt casting out of desperation, and Henry Cavill was never returning as Superman. And they're the facts. They knew that James and Peter were coming in a long time ago. James and Peter have been working on their plan for a long time. You really think they've only been working on a slate for the past 4 or 5 weeks since they've been announced? I'm calling bullshit on that. There's no way they could have done this. And if they have done this in that short space of time, I'm hugely concerned about the future. But Rewind the Times makes a great point. But stunt casting is older than the crucifixion. Hashling me. I am wondering about Gunn's projects. Do you think he will keep them or not? It's an interesting question because things change very quickly. But as far as I know, and far my intel says that Peacemaker 2 is still happening, which means there's no full reboot. Ronnie Dodge, to be honest, if I was a CEO like James, I would do a full reboot with a younger cast, as it's a 10-year plan. So would I. A full reboot will be happening. And now he's got rid of Henry. If he got rid of Henry and keeps others, it's going to be a problem. But I tell you what, this is going to make a lot of actors very nervous, because if they can get rid of Superman, then they can get rid of anyone. So that's it, because actors will be the last to know. Actors are never the first to know in this situation. I think with James Gunn, he's a little bit more respectful. As you can see, he made sure Henry knew the situation before it came out. And I think that's another reason he hurriedly announced it, because he knew. Last week wasn't good. Last week wasn't. But I think that even last week, Henry Cavill would have known he was out as Superman. But a full reboot is illogical. You don't have to be an expert in this industry to know that rebooting a failed franchise is the only way forward. Justice League shouldn't exist. After BVS and Suicide Squad, there should have been a reboot there. The Flash movie shouldn't have been trying to use the Flash to rewrite a universe. It should have been a reboot then again. And again, it's the same old lazy, quick rebuild. That's not going to work. Ronnie Dodge, I feel it's going to confuse people if some people are staying or not. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I hope it's a full reboot. I don't know the plan, but I'm not too sure. All we can do is hope for the best. John, WB needs to make a lot of money. Yeah, that's an understatement. Isaac Cruz, Beneda, hey, Mick, just join the live. What's your take on the situation? My take on the situation is that I think that Henry Cavill being moved on as Superman is a good move. Focusing on a younger Superman is a great move. I'm sad for Henry, and I'm sad how it was handled back in October with his return in Black Adam, and that's my view on that. But I think it's right to move on from Henry Cavill as Superman for the sake of the franchise. Rewind the times. My inter is when is telling me something don't feel right about Gunn. Can't be trusted. No one in this industry can be trusted, my friend. They're not your friends. None of them are your friends. And don't think they are. Stop defending them. They're not your friends. At the end of the day, they're just people who want to be successful. And they're using you because they can use you to become successful. Right, Ronnie Dodge, I would rather a full reboot, but knowing them too, they will keep the actors they have produced or directed. My gut is telling me, yep, me too. That's why I keep on saying to people, it's not a full reboot. Hashling, me, yeah, agreed. This is devastating situation. Imagine being DC's actor, actress. Not great, is it? But this is how they all treat each other. Actors treat each other like shit. Producers treat each other and actors like shit. Directors treat each other and actors like shit. They're not nice people. It isn't a nice industry. It isn't the nice industry. Let's put it that way. If you're working here, it's because you love the art or you want to make money or whatever. And let me be clear, not everyone who makes films or writes plays is making a lot of money. It's only the higher echelon of the industry that's doing well. And even they're struggling right now because of the progressive propaganda and everything they've done to damage this industry. A lot of people will say they deserve everything they're getting right now. And in fact, really, now isn't the best time to try and do a connective comic book franchise because superheroes are kind of going past their sell-by date as well. So it better be good, James and Peter, or you're not going to get what you think you're going to get out of it. Because it's all very well talking on social media, but it's when these things come out on cinemas where the talking stops and the spondulix needs to spread around. Ronnie Dodge, I don't want to be harsh, but actors who play their heroes come and go. It happens. It happens. That's the business. Hashling, me. What time to be a DC fan? Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing, bad thing. I don't know anymore. I know that DC social media is full of a lot of shills and a lot of people saying, people that keep on complaining. Yeah, the people who have a go about people who are complaining are the people who caused the rise of fascism. The people who didn't want to speak out against all the COVID rules are the ones who put us in lockdowns, basically. And they're the reason that COVID camps were created. That's what I'm saying. The people who say, I trust James and Peter, are the most dangerous people in the world. Isaac Cruz Pineda, I personally want a full reboot, 5 other actors, an opportunity to play these heroes. They could even be better than the previous actors. I couldn't agree more. Film Goblin, man, it's weird that Gunn didn't mention doing a full reboot while saying they're moving on from Cavill. No, he's not going to tell you that. I've been telling you this for weeks. He's been teasing stuff out of context without giving us context of the plan. And I don't think he is doing a full reboot. We will see. Ronnie Dodge, maybe James doesn't want any baggage with the toxic fan base. Well, considering he wants to work with Ben Affleck and he wants Ben to direct the DC movie, he said that in his thread about Henry Cavill. It doesn't look like he wants to get away from the toxic fan base. And at the end of the day, everyone in life is toxic at some point in their lives. It is the society you see on social media. It's the same society you see in the real world. That's what we are. We will have our views. And if you tug our views, we tug other people's views back. That's the way the world works. That is life. It's not that the Snyder fans are toxic. It wasn't the Snyder fans who started the toxicity. It was other people who kept on knocking Snyder, and ultimately the Snyder fans rose up. If you keep on kicking a dog, it will bite you eventually. MFC Productions, I'm devastated as now Cavill is no longer Superman. It makes the ending of Black Adam sort of underwhelming, but I'm hoping he returns in the future. If he does return MFC Productions, it will be in another role, I think. Ronnie George, Ben directing a DC movie would be cool. It would. Isaac Cruz Pineda, I swear Matt Reeves could have confirmed Batterson wasn't going to be in the new DCU a while ago. Is it fishy why they decide to say that now? Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because probably James and Peter asked if Robert's Batman could be part of the DCU. Matt said no, and that's the end of it. That's what I think happened. But yes, it's interesting timing because what I'm saying to you is that Variety article, Isaac Cruz Pineda, was staged because they were exposed by Boris Kitten, a Hollywood Reporter, last week with factual links. So they tried to salvage some respectability. I believe that was staged. And that article was staged to make James Gunn look like the big I am on social media. Chubby Teddy Monster Productions. Mick, you are right about those that are saying, let's see what James Gunn does. Yeah, the people who say, let's trust James Gunn, as I say, they're the people that basically sat there and called out people for not having vaccines. They're the ones who wanted to trust Adolf Hitler just before World War II. These are the people, the ones, basically, who saw V, the alien invasion story. You had the rebels and you had the other people, right? Mike Donovan was the leader of the rebels, but his mum was in bed with one of the leaders of the aliens who were disguising themselves as humans when they were reptiles. And the rebels saved the world ultimately. They created the red dust. But the people who said, let's trust the visitors, basically, in the end, were on the fucking being served as a meal on the serving platter. Always ask questions. Always be suspicious. Don't allow people to charm you into not being, don't allow people to make you docile. Charm. Be very, very intelligent in life. Question things. Ronnie Dodge, maybe if Black Adam survives this, Dwayne has to see he can't do a solo movie without Shazam. I don't think that The Rock is going to be seen again, and I hope he's not. Chubby Teddy Monster Productions, Mick, why do you think Zaslav picked Gunn and Saffron? That's an easy answer to that, Chubby Teddy Monster Productions, because they were already there. They were easy. Everybody else said no, so he had no choice but to implement them. He had two options. He could have gone with Mike DeLuca, who's co-chair at WB Pictures. And he decided to go with Gunn and Saffron because they were also already there. His two options were already there. And everybody else literally told him to fuck off. That's why Gunn and Saffron are actually there. But Gunn is a clever guy. He's a good writer-director. But he's never been given a responsibility like this. He hasn't got the experience. Being a filmmaker doesn't mean you can do something as huge as this. But I hope he can pull it off. But there's no foregone conclusion here that he's going to be successful. We have to be awake to that scenario. Hashling, me, do you think Gunn was sugarcoating regarding Ben Affleck being the director? Well, he didn't say he was going to be a director of the Superman movie. He could be a director on any project. Who knows? It could be a way to say, oh, well, Ben's not Batman anymore, but we want him to direct. Who knows? These people are full of propaganda, aren't they? It's like when he said we want to work with Henry again. Well, Henry in his statement said he's not Superman anymore. So he'd only be coming in as somebody else, which is weird. Isaac Cruz Pineda, perhaps James and Reeves have the intention to bring over Pattinson, just not now, more in the future where he's fully fleshed out. Maybe that's something they may look at in the future, but right now it's not going to happen. Isaac Cruz Pineda, and James can focus on other characters. Ronnie Dodge, James needs to destroy it and build it back up from scratch. I just don't want another lot of origin stories again. Well, yes, you could absolutely destroy the DCEU and start from scratch and say, we have an established universe. It's what I've been saying. You can have a watchtower. You can have a Hall of Justice. It's already there, populated with hundreds and hundreds of members of the Justice League already. You don't need to do origin stories. James Gunn has already confirmed his Superman movie will not be an origin story. Isaac Cruz Pineda, such as Superman and other shelved characters. Ronnie Judge, I feel James writing the Superman movie, I feel he can do emotional as well as comedic. Well, I don't know, Ronnie. I'm not going to sit here and say he can definitely make this a success. I don't know. He rejected doing Superman in the past. So let's see. Let's see how, is he a one-trick pony or can he do other things? Let's see. He's been given a huge opportunity to write a Superman movie. Very, very soon, in a few years' time, we will find out if he's capable of doing so. So I'm not going to say he's not, but I'm certainly not going to sit here and say, oh, yes, he's easily going to do this. Ronnie Todd, it's going to be interesting what happens. Well, certainly, yeah. And I'm sure all the Twitter propaganda DC fans are going to be, either kissing his butt and making sure he never has to wipe it again, or I'm going to be saying he's the worst person ever. It's either one thing or the other, on social media, I'm afraid. But unfortunately, there are lots of different fandoms from DC. The Snyder fans, those, it's just insane. But I think the worst DC fans right now are the shills. The ones who just don't want to question anything and blindly go through this. Like the people who didn't like the fact that I was saying that the 4 movies this year were postponed from other reasons apart from VFX, didn't want to believe their precious studio would be a little bit secretive, be, delaying things for other reasons. Ronnie Dodge, Justice League movie down the line. I would let Andy Muschietti to direct it. I think I have more chance of directing a Justice League movie than Andy Muschietti has, but who knows? Ronnie Dodge, timing is a bit odd, just before Christmas. Well, listen, I think what you're finding with the timing is that a week ago, Boris Kitten, a Hollywood Reporter, revealed that Henry Cavill wouldn't be Superman anymore, and revealed quite a few other things, which were true. James Gunn said that some of it was true. I think all of it was true. A week later, James Gunn confirms what Boris Kit already told us, soft-soaping us about a younger Superman. He's trying to say the reason for Henry not returning is because he's using a younger Superman. I call BS on that. The reason he came out now is because he had no choice but to tell us now, because someone was already going to reveal it. But Boris Kit pretty much already did reveal it last week. That's why the timing is now, Ronnie. Hashling me. I feel like Gunn will serve as the writer in following DC projects down the line, or at least some of it. Yes, I predicted the same. Hashling me. He will either co-write a film, co-write a story, pen the story, and then let someone adapt his story into a screenplay. He is the showrunner of DC Universe. That is the comparison with that. Just imagine DC Universe as a television show with a showrunner. That's exactly what James Gunn is doing here. This is exactly what Kevin Feige does over at Marvel as well. They are showrunners. This is the way they do franchises today. So he's writing Superman. He's going to write everything. He will have a hand in the narrative of each piece of content, even the stories on the games, I think, as well. I'm sure he knows enough about games as well. The thing is with James Gunn, he's kind of knowledgeable with geek culture because he is a bit of a nerd as well, which is a good thing. Now, we'll see if that works out. James Gunn's put himself in the window. We can see him. There's no hiding place. So there can be no excuses. If he succeeds, he gets the plaudits. If he fails, as I say, there is no hiding place for him. He's taken a huge challenge and a huge risk, and I respect him for doing that. Isaac Cruz Pineda, so what now? They'll just recast the new Batman? Well, let me just talk about this. With the news that came out yesterday, that Matt Reeves, the Batman universe, will remain in its own universe. I don't agree with more than one Batman. And I think if you've got a Batman in Matt Reeves' universe, don't have a Batman in DC universe. We don't need yet another Batman. That's the way I look at that. I think it's ridiculous that we're going to have 3 Bruce Waynes, including the one in the Joker. There is a Bruce Wayne in the Joker and in the sequel. He will be a teenager in this movie. So we've got 3 Gothams, 3 Bruce Waynes. It is ridiculous. Rewind the times. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's so much smoke with the way Gunn speaks. I'm starting to have no faith in this project of his already. Well, listen, I think in practice, having a new guy playing Superman could be interesting. But listen, I'm not just going to say to you, let's just trust James and Peter. There's been a lot of problematic situations thrown up since they've come in. In fact, they've even created even more problems than there were before they were here. So let's see what the plan is. Then I'll judge it. But I won't totally judge them until I see, until I taste what they've cooked in the kitchen. Ronnie Dodge, who would you have as a villain for a first Justice League in the DCU? What you want to see in a Justice League, and I think this is kind of interesting, what you could have is kind of an injustice team, a team of villains after the Justice League. Because Justice League is a team, if you have a villain team and you can put separate individual villains against separate heroes, I think that would be very, very interesting. So that's what I would do. I mean, listen, it's a Justice League movie wants to make money. There's lots of different ways. You can go Brainiac, you can go, there's lots of so many villains in DC that you can use. But I think a group of different villains would be very, very interesting. Isaac Cruz Pineda, I believe Hashling me, Michael B. Jordan. Isaac Cruz Pineda, I believe a Justice League is too soon. Well, good luck making a better Justice League movie than Zack Snyder. I actually believe, and I said it earlier before some of you came in, I think they're going down the Young Justice direction, and I think this is why we're getting a younger Superman. Ronnie Dodger, I'm not going to get emotional and judge it right now, but once the slate is out, Ronnie Dodge out. Yeah, listen, we can look at a slate and say, yeah, but a slate doesn't really tell you anything. A slate is just a bunch of movie titles. It still doesn't tell you if the movies are going to be any good, if the universe is going to work, if the interconnectedness and the story they're telling. But I'm assuming he may tell us what the story is he's actually telling in this slate as well. So that'll be interesting as well. But you still can't totally judge something until you've seen it, until you've tasted it, until you smelt it. And I know this happens in the internet. People judge something when they don't even watch a movie or TV show. Oh, that's crap. That's bad. That's rubbish. Just because a guy who's got 2.56K views or, subs on YouTube has said something is bad. I bet you half the people who hated Amazon's Lord of the Rings hadn't even seen it. I saw the first episode. I thought it was okay. I thought the production values were great, but it didn't pull me in. It didn't compel me. So I stopped watching it. I didn't watch any more because I don't just watch stuff. I have to be involved. I'm rewatching Doctor Who. I've been rewatching it. I started with Rose. I've been watching Torchwood, Doctor Who, and I'll be rewatching Class as well. And rewatching that brings back the wonderful memories of adoring what Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies did. And I'm so invested. I need to be invested. I'm not really invested in Shazam. I'm not that invested in Aquaman. I'm not that invested in Blue Beetle. I have to be invested. My worry about myself and the new DCU is that I won't be that invested. But with having a Superman, which is my favorite character, I need to be invested. I just hope it's a great version. Ronnie Dodge, I feel a young Justice League could work. We will see these characters develop and mature over time. Exactly. It will be a great move. Rewind the times. Imagine if this fails. I can't imagine rebooting again. I think if it fails, then you just have to give up on DC, don't you? How many more times? People are just going to get bored in the end and just walk away. We don't care. We're rebooting for the 60th billionth time. The truth is, my friend, when they sacked Zack Snyder instead of Justice League, they should have rebooted and started again. That was the mistake they made, and they're still paying the price today. They're facts. Isaac Cruz Pineda, how are we going to have a Batman trilogy, Reeves Batman and solo films of the new DCU? Batman's so confusing. It's not confusing, Isaac. Matt Reeves' universe is enclosed in its own universe. It's nothing to do with DC Universe. So Matt's sequel is happening and spin-offs are happening. Actually not that confusing. Ronnie George, I feel some fans can't wait to put pounds on this universe if these new movies are not the best. Well, of course, Ronnie, of course. They've just been told that their favourite version of Superman is done. So, of course, they're going to have an agenda. It happens to all of us. When I was dumped and cheated on the first time, I was devastated and I hated every single fucking girl. And I used to go around saying, I hate girls, I hate girls, I hate girls. In the end, I realised I should be stereotyping all girls just because I was dating one bad egg. But I was young, I was bitter, I was twisted. This is what happens in life. They've just sacked the guy they look up to as Superman. So you can understand why they want to pounce as soon as something fails. And if you were them, you would be doing the same thing too. Ronnie Dodge, I grew attached to these DCU characters. I have a tattoo of them, but that will stay with me. Ronnie Dodge, I love the tattoo I have. Awesome. Well, unless it's on your backside, I wouldn't mind seeing it. Maybe post it on Twitter. You don't have to DM me with that. You can post it on your timeline. But yeah, Wouldn't mind seeing that, but if it's on your backside, I'm not fucking interested. Just putting it out there. No one else would say that, would they? No one else would have the guts to say what I've just said, right? Boba Talks would never say that, right? Mr. Boba Talks, let's go with the flow. Oh, yeah, even if I don't get what I want, I would go with the flow because I'm a good fan. Oh, yeah, and Star Wars doesn't need lightsabers and laser guns. Please, Boba, I think you're a great YouTuber, but you really are starting to trigger me. You really are. As I say, you're a great YouTuber. I love what you do. You've got great style. You're very intelligent, but your judgment on other fans is starting to really wind me up. I'll be honest with you. Ronnie George, it's a Zach's Wonder Woman with the sword and lasso on my forearm. Pretty cool. I mean, I'm not really one for tattoos. The only tattoo I will ever get is the Superman insignia on my chest. I've always wanted to do that, but I'm just worried about getting poisoned or something going wrong. But if I could do that, have Superman on my chest, that would be so awesome. Because Superman is my main character. So if anyone's got the right to have an opinion about Henry Cavill moving on, it's me. Here's my thing. Henry Cavill was a really, really good Superman. But I'm not invested in him enough to say, oh, it's bad that he's gone. I think it's probably the right decision. I think we had a great Superman in Christopher Reeve. We had a great pre-Superman Clark in Tom Welling. To me, the best versions, live-action versions of Clark Kent are Christopher Reeve and Tom Welling, and everyone else comes behind them, in my opinion. Dean Cain was shit. I didn't like him. I thought he was terrible, cheap casting. But Tom Welling and Christopher Reeve, for me, are the best castings of Clark Kent ever. Rewind the times. They should have let Zach finish his vision, but they didn't because they didn't see the money in it. Ronnie Dodge, I want to add Batman and Superman logo to build up a sleeve. That would be cool. Ronnie Dodge, rewind the times. Well, that isn't happening now, is it? No. Well, it's all right for Rewind the Times to want that, but unfortunately, you're right, Ronnie. It's not going to happen, and that's very, very sad. But yeah, I've tried to explain to you my view on all of this. That I've even said on my quote tweet to James's Fred about moving away from Henry. I said, don't attack James. Be constructive in your opinions, because at the end of the day, I know it's a passionate thing. I know people are passionate about Henry Cavill. Now there'll be a lot of people. There's people who love Henry but agree it's time to move on. There's some people who love Henry who don't want to move on. And that's always the way it's going to be. For me, he's not my top tier Superman. I like him. I love him as Superman, but he's not top tier Superman to me. To me, top tier Superman is Christopher Reeve and Tom Welling. They're the ones I love. I think that Tom Welling, and Smallville as a show did a great job in creating its own Justice League, its own DC universe, probably more effectively and better than the DCEU has ever done. And in terms of Christopher Reeve, the man was an icon. His first movie was iconic. His second movie was iconic. His third movie was okay. And the fourth movie, you just go back and enjoy it, even though it's a bad movie, because Christopher Reeve was still great in it. And there's still great elements. His address to the UN is beautiful. But ultimately, Christopher Reeve and Tom Welling over Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's been a really good Superman, but I'm not overly invested in Henry. But as a human being and as an actor, I feel sympathy and compassion for the position Henry Cavill has been put in. Ronnie George, Chris Reeves is the GOAT of Superman. He is. Listen, I watched Superman the movie so many times a day. It was the first thing I ever watched or consumed as a child. It means so much to me. And it isn't just nostalgia. That film still works today. And they had limited techniques. They created new techniques. I think, and I said this on this channel so many times, when he flies after the rocket, that is some of the best special effects of Superman flying I have ever seen. And literally, they were using blue screen, not green screen. They were using, fake background, but it looks real. It still looks real. And I don't think Zach had Henry flying enough in Man of Steel or his other movies. I think Superman is most famous for flying. And that's actually something I'm going to say to James Gunn. Hey, at James Gunn, can we at least have Superman flying a lot more? Thank you. Ronnie Dodge, if the new Superman movie is like the Donna Superman, then that's amazing because this is the Superman from the comics. Right, Ronnie, let me address you on that. And obviously, I respect everyone's views. One thing I've got to say is I don't want the next Superman movie rehashing and repeating what we saw in Superman the movie. Now, if you want to take the tone from that movie, that's absolutely fine. But do something new. Do something new, but be true to who Superman is. Yeah, but I don't want them to copy and paste Superman the movie. For me, that would be embarrassing, and I don't think James Gunn's about that. James Gunn's his own person, and he will do his own thing. He will make a modern-day Superman film. But as I say, James Gunn is the luckiest person in Hollywood right now. He has an opportunity to create his own version of Superman. I wish him the best of luck because Superman is my character. I think that James was always destined to be involved with Superman, even though it was always interesting to me, even on his Guardians 1 days where he sort of said, no, I would never do Superman. I'd never work on DC. And look at him now. I think James was always destined to work on Superman. I think that Zaslav's making him work on Superman. I don't think it's a choice of his, but he's got the opportunity now to create the first Superman that everybody loves at the same time. I think Tyler Heckling's kind of been that on a smaller scale, but in terms of a movie, your movie has to make over $1 billion. The whole world has to love it and find Superman relatable again, as they did in 1978. This is the pressure he's on. I say he's the luckiest man in Hollywood because I'd love to be in this position, to be coming up with ideas. I've always got ideas about Superman. But yeah, I do envy him. And I think he's got an opportunity to do something great. And I wish him of luck. I'm not going to predict failure or success for him because I ain't fucking Nostradamus, even though I call myself fucking Nostradamus. Some do seem to know what's going to happen. But in terms of this, nobody can tell you if the next Superman movie will be successful or not. But with removing Henry, he's going to be under more pressure to make it a hit. Ronnie Dodge, I want to see comic book Superman, but James does his own version, but true to the character. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we need. We don't want a dark Superman. We don't want the heat vision looking like he's fucking Satan. We want Superman. You know, the reason Superman has been beloved since 1938, because he's pure, he's good, he's the salt of the earth. He comes from Kansas, for Christ's sake. He's got Midwestern values. That's a term you hear a lot, because Midwestern values are, how can I put it, old-fashioned values, you know, and things like that. And that's who Superman has to be. Isaac Cruz Pineda, I want a cheesy, innocent, pure, kind Superman. Yes, we all do. But you can still make him funny. He can still be relatable. He can still have gags. He can be all of those things, but not be a bore. Superman, just because he's those things you've just described, doesn't mean he has to be boring. He can still have an interesting, extrovert personality. Ronnie Dodge, no more depressing Superman, please, but I know James won't give us that. No, James is the opposite. Look, James is a clever guy. James will do what he thinks is right, I suppose. How can I say this? As a business, he needs to make Superman the right way for him to be a successful business, but he's also a filmmaker and a storyteller. So these are the things he has to balance together. But I am not upset that Henry's being moved on. I'm not. I think it's the right decision. And I know people won't be very happy with me saying that. But I've got a platform here because I want to say what I think. I don't want to lie to you so you press the like button or follow me or sub to me. I'm quite happy to risk your unsub or your unlike. I'm quite happy to do that. But I have to be true to myself. And you, my friends, have to be true to yourselves. But this is the platform to be on, where I can be true to myself and you can be true to yourself, but we don't attack each other because we're intelligent human beings. No matter the color of your skin, what you look like, your gender, whether you've changed your mind and you've decided to change your gender, I couldn't give a shit. Everyone is welcome on this platform and you don't have to agree with me. But what you always have to do is be respectful of each other's and my opinions and I want to be respectful of your opinions as well. Rewind the time. See, I don't want that type of Superman. I'm 42 years old. I don't want to see cats saving, tree climbing Superman. I want to see a mature Superman, but just no interest in that type of Superman. Sorry, the problem is Rewind the Times. I don't think there's many people like you out there who are going to make a film $1 billion by Superman being the way he was in Snyder's universe, unfortunately. Ronnie Dodge, Mick, I know we disagree on things, but now I fully agree with you. That's right. It's all about opinions. No one should have the same opinions. If you like me, you shouldn't just agree with me because you want me to like you back. That's not how it works. Mutual respect is gained through just respecting each other. I have so many friends in my life, and a lot of them don't have the same mentality to me. We agree to disagree. Sometimes we have huge debates about politics and films and movies and television. Most of my friends, my private friends, not on social media, but my private friends, are from the industry as well. So we're very passionate about the industry that we work in, and we have different opinions, and that's okay. It's okay not to agree. It's not okay to attack someone and try and destroy someone because they don't share your views. And that is the demoralizing side of social media and life and culture today. Rain Dodge, this new Superman will develop into a mature Superman. It's called character development. It will take time, not straight into dark Superman like the DCEU. Look, Superman should only go dark if he's infected by Red K, like he was in Smallville. Naturally, Superman should be a pure person. Now, in Man of Steel, actually, Clark was a very nice, pure character, to be fair. It was in BVS where he seemed a bit moody and miserable because of the events around him. And it just wasn't what people wanted to see. Ronnie George, that's not Superman. Look, if you want darker characters, there's the Crow. There's different characters, isn't there? Batman can be slightly dark, but even Batman is an inspirational figure, in the comics at least. So it's just about giving people not everything that they want, because you've got to allow a storyteller to do their own thing. But it's about common sense, because you want people to consume this shit. Ronnie Dodge, Red Kryptonite changes his behavior. That's right. Isaac Cruz Pineda. I hope they expand the new Metropolis like they're doing with the Batverse. I don't want to see Metropolis in New York. I want to see a proper Tim Burton type of Metropolis, where you take something and you make it totally fantasy. I don't want to see a real world kind of gritty Metropolis. I want Metropolis to be this. If I was making a Superman movie, Metropolis would have a fucking pink sky. It would look fucking mad because it's an imaginary place. But in the other way, I suppose, Metropolis is a word for city. So in a way, they do want to make it look like a typical city. But I would like to do something a bit bolder. Rewind the times. I've seen all of this before. I like the mature Superman. Frank Miller's Batman is great. Frank Miller's Batman is great, but not the... Basically, let's be honest. But Ben Affleck isn't Frank Miller's Batman. Let's be clear about that. Basically, Frank Miller's Batman is still that person deep down, but it's slightly different. So, yeah, look, I think you're one of the few people who wants a different... Basically, Snyder's Superman isn't the Superman that most of us grew up with. Snyder tried to change Superman. And as I say, Man of Steel, he's more purer, but as we see him go on, he's not really the Superman we grew up with. And basically, people like you, Rewind the Times, like him because he's a different character than he's supposed to be. Rewind the Times, just my opinion, is just boring, guys. Ronnie Dodge, I wonder if Gotham and Metropolis will be opposite each other again, lol. I hope so. That would be really cool because they're supposed to be. Isaac Cruz Pineda, like a futuristic, perfect little city Metropolis. Yeah, something just in the fantasy. A fantasy city, that just looks bold and wondrous skies and, it's still a planet on Earth, so it has to look like a place on Earth. But just do a Dick Tracy like they did on the Dick Tracy movie, or what they did in Burton's Batman movies. Just do something fantastical. Because for me, Superman is fantastical and immersive. And one of the things I love about Snyder is the VFX and how fantastical the VFX looked. Film Goblin. Bryan Singer's Metropolis was close. I like his Metropolis. Unfortunately, his Metropolis was supposed to be Dick Donner's Metropolis, but it didn't look anything like Dick Donner's Metropolis. That was my issue with that, but you're right. Yeah, Ronnie Dodge. That's okay, Rewind the Times. We all have opinions. Isaac Cruz Pineda. I really hope we get a proper Lex Luthor, like someone from Smallville. I would love Michael Rosenbaum to reprise his role as Lex. I think that would be amazing. I don't see it happening. I would love it to happen, though. Ronnie Dodge, what about Jacob Elordi as a younger Clark Kent? I don't know who that is, unfortunately. Isaac Cruz Pineda, a confident, ambitious comic look, accurate Lex Luthor. Yeah, always bold, always bold. Lex Luthor must always be bold. I don't care if the actor doesn't want to be bold. I want to see a bald Lex Luthor. And I don't want a bald cap. I want a proper fuck-off bald Lex Luthor like Rosenbaum was from seasons 1 to 7. But if James Gunn is the man that we all believe he is, we could be getting something really, really exciting. And if he's not the man we think he is, then it's going to be shit and he's going to fail. If he tries to cheat himself to success, like Kevin Sujihara did, Jeff Johns, and all of them after Zach left, then they will fail. But if they start from scratch and mold the clay and create something amazing, then he will succeed. Because nobody wants James Gunn to fail. No DC fan, not really, wants James Gunn to fail. We want you to succeed, but you can't cheat your way to success in life. Not even you. A proficient Hollywood writer-director. No one gets to cheat their way to success because people are not dumb. And when you're dealing with consumers, you're dealing with people who can see right through the bullshit. Isaac Cruz Pineda, although Blue Beetle was made under the previous regime, I hope they somehow incorporate Blue Beetle into the new DCU. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the case, but because it was under the last leadership, I don't see how this is going to be any good, but I hope I'm wrong. Ronnie Dodge, he's from that show, that's with Zendaya, with HBO Max. Oh, that one, I've never seen that, so... And by the way, I love Zendaya. Zendaya actually has more to do with WB and HBO Max these days, so I'd love Zendaya to join DC. I'd love her to leave Marvel, and I'd love her to join DC. That would be so cool. And it would upset the Marvel fans, and it will make me very happy. Isaac Cruz Pineda, you mean June, Ronnie Dodge. Film Goblin, would you like to see Metropolis look like a bright gold city or futuristic type city? Bright and gold would be cool, but yes, I'd love a futuristic Metropolis. That would be absolutely fantastic. Something that a city that you don't see every day. So it's got to look like it's in our world, right? Of course. But I want to see something, fantastic. But that's the word. I want to see something fantastical personally. Ronnie Dodge, Zendaya to become DCU Catwoman. Why not? Rewind the Times, she's not in Spider-Man anymore. Well, that's not official. We don't actually know that. Rewind the Times. Isaac Cruz Pineda, Zendaya should not become Catwoman. Isaac Cruz Pineda, Zendaya. Yeah, I wondered if you were talking about, if you were criticizing people who send. Film Goblin. Bryan Singer's did come close to looking like the comics, but didn't like the color filters. It was shot with a very groundbreaking camera at the time. Was it the Phoenix camera, which they use? I think they've even found better cameras now. But at the time, the colors were different. I didn't mind the look. It was a bit, I think the color palette could be a little bit dark. not bright enough. And I think that affected when we saw Superman and the colours Superman was wearing. Not bright enough either. Ronnie Dodge, wouldn't be surprised if some of the Guardians cast will be involved on DCU. Karen Gillan as Ivy would be amazing. Karen Gillan, former Doctor Who companion, let's not even connect her with Marvel, is great. And I used to love her on Doctor Who Confidential, which I'm watching every time I rewatch an episode of Doctor Who right now. And I'd love Karen to be involved. Karen's an absolute talent. She's worked her way from the ground up, even directing some stuff as well. So I would absolutely love Karen to be involved. But I don't want to see every single person who's ever worked with James working in DC. I want new people. But this is Hollywood. That's why I say there's no inclusion in Hollywood, because they all just employ their mates and family and people with their DNA. So that's the problem. But I do like Karen. I do love Karen. I do think Karen's great. But yeah, I'm not really one for fan casting. I'm one, you go out to auditions and you find the right people for the job and you do your job instead of, as I say, doing these casts that, oh, this person's going to play this character. Isn't that exciting? Rather, I mean, but then again, you've got someone like Jack Nicholson as the Joker, you know, and Heath Ledger, absolutely fantastic. Now, they were definitely stunt casting, but they were cast for the right reasons, because Jack Nicholson got a fortune to play Joker, but boy, didn't he do it well. And by the way, fellow Manchester United fans, Ten Hag actually admitting that the club is possibly up for sale and he's happy about it. Yeah, something tells me our manager is no fan of the Glazers. Ronnie Dodge, James, I hope casts a new actor for Superman that will break out. Isaac Cruz, Pineda, Mick, who you have to win the World Cup finals? At the beginning of this tournament, I fancied a South American team to win it. I still do. I think Argentina will trounce France. I think France were very dodgy against us, and I don't think it's because we were that great. They couldn't handle our physicality, and Argentina are a very physical and skillful team. By the way, I expect Argentina to win the World Cup. I did predict Brazil. Didn't work out, but I did feel a South American team, because of the climate, would win this World Cup. And I do expect Argentina to win the World Cup. And look at Cristiano Ronaldo now. Messi is the champion. It's going to be very interesting, isn't it? Poor old Cristiano, eh? He really did fall flat on his face, didn't he? Ronnie Dodge, Argentina will win and United having 2 World Cup winning CBs. That's pretty cool, right? Isaac Cruz Pineda, De Paulo, Paredes, Molina and Otamendi will jump. How do you say his name? Mbappe, that's it, Mbappe. As soon as he gets his feet on the ball. Yeah, that will be cool, won't it? I'm assuming you're with Argentina, Isaac Cruz Pineda. I don't know if you are Argentinian, but I'm assuming you're from the south of the American border. Ray John, it's going to be Varane versus Martinez. Yeah. John, do you think Henry Cavill could play the next James Bond now? I don't think he will. I still think we're getting a black James Bond, but we'll see. No, I don't think he'll be the next James Bond. I'd be very happy. But now they will. He is going to go for MCU roles now. And that's sad, isn't it? But that's the way it is. Look, he hasn't been treated very well. This is not James and Peter's fault. Let me be clear about that. But the way the October situation with Black Adam was handled was despicable. And there's no getting away from that. Isaac Cruz Pineda, yeah, being from Hispanic heritage, I support any South American team. My country is never able to qualify, so I've got to support someone. That's where Argentina comes in. Yeah, I'd be very happy. I'm not really a big fan of the French. I was in France for a whole 24 hours, and we were treated in such a disgusting way. It was really, really bad. And my friend lost her purse. The police were despicable. I'm not saying France is a bad country. I'm sure there's many French people out there who are lovely. I know lovely French people, by the way. But the point being, You know, one of my best friends is a French director, but the point being, my experience in France wasn't good, so I want your team to lose. I want your country to lose. I'm just that small-minded. Short circuit, do you think Henry Cavill will return as Superman in the future like No Way Home? I don't think so. The way he was talking, he said he's done from Superman. That's official. James Gunn said they like him and they're looking for up. They discussed other things he can do within the new franchise, which will be a lot of fun if he comes back as somebody else or cameos or something. Maybe that will happen, but ultimately, no. Henry Cavill is done as Superman. Now, maybe they'll do a No Way Home in the future, and that can happen. I'm not dismissing that, but right now, you have to build something out before you can do something like that. And they just haven't earned the right to do a No Way Home at this moment. Ronnie Dodge, I feel we should have been in the semis final, but it's because of that dodgy ref. Do you know what, Ronnie? I don't think so. At the end of the day, we conceded 2 good goals. How many penalties did we have, by the way? Did we have 2 penalties on the night? I mean, we didn't do badly in terms of the officials, did we? So we lost because we conceded 2 goals. We didn't lose because of the ref, in my opinion. At the end of the day, we had the same ref as Argentina did, and or France did. And I don't think France bribed the ref, and I think that's just an excuse. Isaac Cruz Pineda, and I'm happy as South America is finally able to make it to the final and hopefully win it. Well, to be fair, I mean, Brazil have won plenty of World Cups, haven't they, in the past? So it's not like, but it's been a while, I suppose. Ronnie Dodge, 2 pens and Kane missed one. There you go. 2 penalties. That's all they had. They barely created an open chance. I think we can say the right team deserved to win, just about. But England did well. They pressured them physically. They were weak physically, the French, and that's why England did well. England were playing the old-fashioned way, pace the wings. England haven't really evolved under Southgate. Isaac Cruz Pineda, England had the opportunity to change the game. They did, and they didn't. Simple as that. So this is why, no disrespect to Ronnie, but it does annoy me when people blame the ref for England losing. No. And by the way, I think Gareth Southgate will remain England manager, and all this, I may say, I may go bullshit. I don't believe it at all. Ronnie George, I do feel that Rashford had the pressure of taking that free kick. He was a lot closer to the goal than Kane's pen. Isaac Cruz Pineda, Morocco could have beaten France had they been more clinical and tested lots. Loris Moore, it's a shame. I wanted Morocco to do well, but they did really well to get where they were. John, did you see the trailer for Adam Driver's new movie, 65 Years? I have not. I'm assuming someone's in it who's 65 years old, maybe, I don't know. Adam Driver is an amazing talent, and how J.J. Abrams got him involved in Star Wars is still peak fucking casting. Say what you want about J.J. Abrams. Adam Driver, since Star Wars, in fact, he's probably one of the only actors, the younger actors from Star Wars who came in, who's actually done so well. That's interesting. John, did you see the trailer? No, I've seen that. Ronnie Dodge, Morocco was all over France, like us, just didn't take their chances, gutting. Yeah, that's life. And at the end of the day, it's not the chances you miss that win you the game. You know, we could all say, oh, yeah, look at the chances United have missed in European Champions League semi-finals under Fergie. And, you know, the Dortmund game when Cantona decided enough was enough and left. You know, that night we battered Dortmund. But it's not about what we miss. That's why some football fans don't get it. It's about what you score at the end of the day. When you go clubbing, you know, you're on the pole. It's all about the women you pull. Sorry to be all old-fashioned and, being disrespectful. But at the end of the day, we do go. I do go out clubbing every night. I do go on the pool. I do have a good night. And the ladies have a good night as well. And sorry, feminists, that's how the real world works. Isaac Cruz Pineda, you think Messi lifting the World Cup will solidify him as the GOAT? Ronaldo and Messi have both been outstanding talents. They're both the GOATs. Let's be clear. I know the banter between them and their fans is great, but they're both GOATs. What's happened with Ronaldo now, he's going through this kind of mental state of not being able to accept that he's past his best and being a diva. That's the problem with Ronaldo. But Ronaldo has been one of the greatest players in the history of the game, as is Messi. But Ronaldo hasn't won the World Cup. So if Messi does, he can kind of gloat about that, but they're both the GOAT. One isn't the GOAT and one isn't. They're both the GOATs, and that's a factual statement. Ronnie Dodge, there's rumours apparently Memphis might be coming back to United on loan. Yes, I've heard this. I don't know. Is that a good thing? Maybe Ten Hag can get something out of him? It's not something that would overly excite me. I'd prefer Gatco. John, it's basically Adam Driver versus dinosaurs in his new movie. And I was just praising him. What the fuck? Why? Oh dear. This is why I don't go to the cinema very much. Ronnie Dodge, I was listening to Piers on TalkSport, and according to him, he still touched the ball and Bruno didn't score. Look, that, my friend, is the very embarrassing incident with Ronaldo and his fans. Literally, we're debating if Ronaldo got a little fucking touch on a ball or breathed on it or whatever. Once you're debating that, you know that your player is a desperate has-been. And it's pathetic to have this debate. Is Ronaldo... I mean, I know Ronaldo is the biggest of stat padders, and he's only still playing football to get his stats up so high, nobody can ever catch him up. But it's absolutely ridiculous. Ronnie, it's over for you. You'll never play you will never play for a Champions League club again. It's over for you. I appreciate what you did for United in your peak, but you've become an absolute disrespectful calamity now. And, you and your fans are deluded. And you're basically as deluded as Patty Jenkins. It's funny, actually. Maybe Patty Jenkins thinks she'll be back at DC again because she'll be sweeping the floor or something. Because I tell you what, anyone who allows her near another DC movie doesn't deserve our consumption of their product. So, we're about to sign off for today's DC Universe Daily Live. It's been a lot of fun, but I've been here for over 2 hours and I can feel my voice and my will to live about to explode. But I've had so much fun talking to my fellow DC fans today about not just DC, football and other stuff as well. And it's been a really, really great pleasure. So our main headline today, James Gunn confirms that they are moving on from Henry Cavill as Superman. They will basically give us a younger Superman that will be played by a younger actor, and they're moving away from Henry. But James Gunn confirms that they really do rate Henry Cavill as a talent and are looking for him to play another part within the new franchise. He also confirmed that he's been in talks with Ben Affleck to direct a DC movie, which is also very exciting. James Gunn is writing the new Superman movie. I think he'll be writing most of the DC Universe movies as well. My opinion on Henry Cavill being moved on, I think it's the right move. I don't think it was handled very well in October when he returned as Superman in Black Adam, and we were told, and he was told, he was back as Superman. I think that was despicable, but it is the right move to move away from Henry Cavill's Superman. And I actually believe that they should reboot the whole thing, but I don't believe they will because they're too creatively bankrupt and too lazy to do so. And that might not be down to James Gunn and Peter Safran. That might be down to the studio itself. And the problem is you've got producers and different people who want their stuff to last, and they've got influence within the studio, and that's the problem. That's why I think we probably won't get a full reboot. Ronnie Dodge, see you later, mate. When are you going live again? I have no idea. But basically, you know me, Ronnie, I could pop up live at any time, so be ready. If something big breaks as big as Henry Cavill leaving DC, then I will absolutely go live. And the reason for going live today is to get the environment around the fandom and what you're thinking. And I think most of you are sad for Henry, but pretty happy that it's happening because you know it was time. And basically, Rewind the Times is very upset, and which is absolutely understandable. Isaac Cruz, Pineda, when are you going live in Mick. You'll know when you'll know. You'll know when I know. I'll make it a surprise. I may be live on Christmas Day. So if anyone's on their own on Christmas Day, because all my friends and family will either be in America or the UK. Now, I won't be going anywhere. I will be staying here in this big pad that I live in, all on my own. I will be having a chicken dinner with gravy, all on my own. So I've decided to go live some point on Christmas Day to keep the lonely people like me company, because I know being lonely can be a bit depressing. It doesn't bother me. I enjoy my own company, but I know there's people out there who will be on their own on Christmas Day, and I want to keep you company with my brand of humor and the way I talk, and we'll talk about DC, we'll talk about anything you want. And I will pick a point in time to go live on Christmas Day to keep the people who are lonely company. I think that's a great thing to do. I think it's as much for me as it is for you. So if you're not doing anything on Christmas Day, join me live then for sure. Short circuit, it's really a sad day for DC fans. I understand why people are sad, but you're going to get an even better Superman. I promise you that. Ronnie Dodge, I will be watching on Christmas Day. Yes, thank you, Ronnie. Always great to have Ronnie here because he talks. He likes to talk and he has opinions, and that's what we want on this channel. I've got my opinions. You need yours. You don't have to agree with me. It's about conversation. That's it. We don't have to hate each other. We don't have to do what James Gunn did the other day to that propaganda merchant who said stuff. He told him he hates Henry Cavill. And then James said, I heard 40 people told me that you live in your mother's basement. There's no need for that, because then all James Gunn's millions of followers attack this idiot. And even though he is an idiot and he's a little bit of an idiot, he doesn't deserve to feel that bad about himself. James Gunn is an adult. He should be able to take these things better. And I just think that what James said to him wasn't right. Arguing with fans like that isn't a good look, James, and that's just my opinion. Short circuit, I hope the new James Gunn's plans works. I think all DC fans, I do, but it doesn't mean I won't scrutinise the news that comes out and the things that he says and the trades say about what he's doing, because I think that's important. It's okay to scrutinise stuff as long as you do it constructively and respectfully, and I always do that, but I will always have my opinions, and, you know, it doesn't get James Gunn's backside just because he's James Gunn. He needs me and other fans to respond in a constructive way, but scrutinise him so he understands the right way and wrong way to go for the good of the business and the good of DC, and that's the situation with that. Short circuit, always love DC. I always love DC, but that doesn't mean, right, if you criticise DC, if you criticise the people who work within DC, it doesn't mean you're not a DC fan. It just means you have an opinion. And that's okay, as long as it's done in a respectful way and you don't get personal with the creatives. That's the only thing I say. Just don't get abusive. That's fine. But you can have your opinions. And we're all passionate. Sometimes, you know, on social media, you'll see a take and you get a bit angry and you try and control yourself and you can't. I've been like that. We've all been like that. We can't help ourselves. None of us are perfect on social media. It's the way the whole thing is set up. But we've got to try and be better people. And if we can all try and be better people, we will be better people. Short circuit, thank you for the love. We DC fans were feeling lonely today. That's okay, Short Circuit. I'm here for you all. You're here for me. We're here for each other. We're here to discuss the issues. We're here to talk like we're down the pub or whatever you people go to, wherever you're from. And we're just discussing DC like that. And it's a lot of fun. Now, later on, when I get my breath back, I will do an editorial video about everything that's going down, because that's the way I work, because the live feed doesn't always come out clearly, and some of what I'm saying doesn't come out clearly. So if I do a pre-recorded, then there's no misunderstandings and I can't get misquoted. So I absolutely love it. Times, have a great night. Love the channel, bud. Thank you, Rewind the Times. Love seeing you all on here. It's great. We've got a little community. It's not the biggest of communities, but it doesn't have to be, right? It's not about size. I mean, look, I'm okay with size, right? I'm doing okay with size. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my subscribers, right? Let's get that clear. But basically, this is not a big channel. I've never pretended this is a successful channel. I've never pretended I'm a big deal. I work where I work, I do what I do, I'm happy, right? But this wasn't about becoming a successful channel. For me, it was just a place to air how I feel about DC, other movies, TV, Manchester United, Doctor Who. That's why I'm here. So if I get 30 views, I'm happy with 30 views. If I get 50 views, which I do sometimes, if I get 100 views, right? I'm happy. I've got just over 1,000 subscribers. I'm happy with that. Most of those people don't watch my content. That's okay. It doesn't matter. But let me be clear to you. I didn't get to 1,000 subs by getting all my friends and family to sub to me. Those subs came to this channel organically. So I didn't cheat my way to it. I could easily cheat and get 50k subs by getting everyone I know in the world to follow me. But I want it organically. I want to know how popular or unpopular I am. It matters to me. So right now, I'm happy with the channel. I'm happy with the people who come in. I appreciate the people who come in. I'm not greedy. I don't need this channel to become famous. I don't need to become famous. I'm very happy. The most important thing in my world is my nephews and nieces. They're really all that matter to me in this world. They're the only people I absolutely trust, and I know they're pure people, and they love me for who I am, and I love them for who they are. And that's all that matters to me in this world. As long as I've got enough cigarettes and enough food to eat through the day and enough tea bags to drink through the day, I'm a happy camper. And that, my friends, is who I am. But I absolutely enjoy expressing myself, acting and performing and watching the shit that I love. And again, that's who I am. This has been Movies TV Mad. I admit your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen.